You are listening to the Young Sportscast. Stay tuned. We're going to be talking about two topics today. One being Justin Fields or Caleb Williams, and Tommy's take on who he thinks the Chicago Bears are going to go with for 2024. The second one, I like to bring up the draft and my thoughts on what that looks like on picks, drafting down. Let's get started. A lot of people talking about Caleb Williams, Justin Fields. Who is Chicago Bears going to go with in 2024 and 2025 and maybe even for the next 10 years? My take, they're going with Justin Fields. And I say that with confidence based on a couple of items. One of the items that I'm basing that on is the fact that in the interview with Poles and Eberflus, they said Justin is growing and will continue to grow with us. Somewhere along those lines. That was the first indication. The second indication that I really appreciated from Poles was the fact that he said, we're going to look at all of our options. But one of the key thoughts that he had, that he mentioned, was the fact we're going to go and look at character. I see that all day long with Justin Fields. I see the guy behind the football. I see the guy that's leading a team. And I'm not saying win, but I'm saying being a leader. I see the chemistry that he has with DJ Moore. I see the chemistry that he has with Cole Kmet. And by the way, those two are under contract. I see that with Justin Fields. I see him playing because he loves the game. I see him being a teammate. I'll be honest with you, I have a hard time. And I don't see Caleb Williams, I don't see them picking him. I don't know what's going on behind scenes, but if you take the Chicago Bears and the Bears fans and everybody else, fan-wise, is saying, but Justin Fields didn't win as many games as he should have. But let me inform you that Caleb Williams and USC wasn't even in the top 25. And you say, but look at his numbers. And I say the same thing about Justin Fields. No, his numbers weren't great, but they still won games. And mind you, that was under Luke Getsy, and there was a lot of screen passes. There wasn't a lot of balls thrown. And even with the balls thrown, DJ Moore had his record year for catches and yards. I also heard the teammates from USC, and this is not speculation. Speculation is what they meant by it. But I heard the team saying, now we're a team. And that was after they beat the other team. My point is were they talking about Caleb Williams, one, and maybe not, or were they talking about the distraction that the media, et cetera, has brought to their team? I don't know what it is, but it didn't look good in my eyes to see that. I've seen losses that Justin Fields has taken, how he's handled those losses. And I think he does a great job of coming out and talking to the media and actually meeting with the media. If I remember right, there was one that Caleb Williams did not. He did not meet with the media after a loss. My take is Chicago Bears stick with Justin Fields. To finish out this topic, the Chicago Bears came out with a video of Justin Fields and some of his highlights, and you can see it on the ChicagoBears.com. And some of the fans were saying, well, that's just saying, they're trying to advertise him so they can trade him away. They're not trading Justin Fields away. There's not a team out there and there's not a coach out there that can't go back through all those tapes of all his games and see how he performs. That is not the reason they made it. The reason they made it is he stand with the Chicago Bears. and I'm glad for that. I am a huge Justin Fields fan. So let's talk a little bit about, now this is going to be talking about the draft and my thoughts on where I see this draft going based on the fact that they're keeping Justin Fields, and now what do we do with that number one pick? I find it, Poles is an interesting guy. My latest podcast, the one before this, I talked a little bit about Poles not reaching. He's methodical. He doesn't go outside the box. He stays in the parameters of his comfort zone and doesn't give the farm away. I thought he did a great job with Carolina. And maybe such a good job that they fired the GM, they fired the head coach. It was a cleanup job, right? But what I think is interesting about him is the fact that he not only got a first-round pick this year from them and a second round next year from them, but he also took, and I think this is one of the most important things that we could talk about, is he took their number one wide receiver. They obviously got rid of Christian McCaffrey, which I'm still blown away why they did that, and you don't want to keep him to keep pressure off your quarterback. But they did. But anyway, we took their number one wide receiver. And in doing so, they were horrible this year. Their quarterback he did have targets, don't get me wrong, but he didn't have that number one receiver like DJ Moore. So I think that's important. The other thing that I find interesting is, who do we trade down with? There are plenty of teams that are going to be looking for quarterbacks like Caleb Williams. But I think we have to be careful because some of those teams could be very explosive with a new quarterback. And in doing so, they're no longer in the top 5 or 10 next year. So I think if Poles is doing what he did last year, he's looking at those that might come up to swap with him for that number one pick and saying, what are they projected to be next year? Because if he plays his cards right, there's a chance that we're in the top 5, 2, 3, maybe even the pick 1 again. If you look at what we have, the Chicago Bears are number one pick. Washington needs a quarterback. The problem with Washington is the fact they're starting all over again. So if Washington is interested in not working with Sam Howell and they decide to go a different route, that might be closer to the draft before they decide to do something, based on the fact that they're still trying to, within the organization, get organized, figure out what they have, and work with that. Pick 3 is New England. With Washington, I think you could take away their wide receiver, Terry. I think he's a great wide receiver. There is a chance of picking him up. New England, you might be able to go after an offensive lineman. You might be able to go off the edge. In my personal opinion, I don't see New England as being one that I would really, unless they want to sell the farm to us, sell to. I think Washington, in my opinion, would be the best bet, because I don't see Washington being out of the bottom 5. I see them next year having the first, second, or third round pick, based on how they did this year. Based on they're in the rebuild mode. They got rid of a bunch of players on the defensive side of the ball. I just don't see them going anywhere. So if they do decide to move up, I would take them all day long. Arizona, that's the scary part. I see Arizona. They're projected to take is Marvin Harrison. I really want him on the Chicago Bears. I think that he would be the guy to be that second one wide receiver right out of the gate on a rookie contract. I think that would be a great pickup. But that's another reason why the Bears should trade with New England or Washington, because we would still be ahead of Arizona. The Chargers, I don't see the Chargers at all, even with Harbaugh going there. I don't see the Chargers coming up in the draft at all. I see them sticking with their quarterback there. I don't see anything changing there. Tennessee, I can see going for a quarterback. But once again, we're in pick 6, so we're going to need a lot for that. I see Tennessee, though, next year, even with a new quarterback, I see Tennessee probably being in the bottom 5 as well. That might be decent. The Giants, I don't know what the Giants are going to do. Obviously, they have a quarterback under contract. I don't know what they're going to do, but I don't see the Giants coming up to get a quarterback. The Jets, oh boy, that's a hard one there, because if we look back on the organization with the Packers when Rodgers was there was an issue with the Packers picking up Jordan Love and not picking up a receiver for Rodgers. I guess it's going to depend on what the organization wants to do. If Rodgers allows them, I can see them coming up and getting a quarterback. But if Rodgers has anything to say about it, he's going to say, nope, I need offensive linemen. I need a wide receiver. I need a tight end. Don't you guys dare go after a quarterback. I am your quarterback. And the Jets are stuck with abiding with Rodgers and what he wants and not doing it. Otherwise, I could see all day long that the Jets, with the quarterbacks that are there in this draft, I see them, and they should be bumping up to get a quarterback to replace Rodgers when he's done and retired. Go to Minnesota. That's a tough one there, only because I don't know what they're going to do with Kirk Cousins. My opinion is they re-sign him again to a 2-year contract, but in the same token, you have to get somebody that is going to back him up down the road, and can maybe sit on the bench and get used to the system, get used to offensive coordinator, get used to the fast pace of the NFL versus college. So I could see them still, even if they sign Kirk Cousins, I see them still coming up possibly and wanting a quarterback. But I don't know if they give away the farm to the Chicago Bears to come up to the first part to get them. I could see Minnesota trading with Arizona, but Arizona's also got to protect the fact that they want Marvin Harrison. So that'll be interesting to see what happens. But I think that if the Chicago Bears give it to Minnesota, it costs Minnesota an arm and a leg to come up and get their quarterback. I think with the 10th overall pick, and I'll stop with this one here, with the Chicago Bears, I think the Chicago Bears either go for a wide receiver and or someone on the. And that will wrap up this podcast. Thank you for joining us. Bear down.